the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Welcome aboard. Busy hour coming up. In 15 minutes, we'll get into tonight's card in the NBA. Some bets, numbers that might stick out. Brian Mahoney on the program in 30 minutes, his reaction to the big deal over the weekend. Luka going to the Lakers. Do you concurs coming up as well. Pauly, some very fun and creative offshore props are out there regarding the Super Bowl broadcast. You can get as creative as you want. But, globally speaking, you can. In the States, not as much. Here in Nevada, it has to be like in a box score, for example. So this would never be available here in town. But various offshore accounts could book whatever they want, such as this. How many times will Tom Brady's voice crack during the game? They set the over-under at 2.5. How would you possibly grade that? Right?
Is it easy to determine a voice crack?
I don't think so. And how many people, let's say they graded as 2, couldn't bettors come out and say, well, hold on a second here. Which 2 did you count throughout the entire 3.5 broadcast? Because I counted 4 or 5. So good luck, grading that. Will Brady be fired by Fox before March 1st, 2025? Am I missing something here? 50-1.
Well, you'd have to kill someone. I mean, it'd have to be he'd have to do something in personal life that would embarrass the company.
Sure.
You're not going to fire him for performance.
No.
Yeah, he'd have to do something stupid in his personal life.
Will Brady criticize the refs or the officiating? Yes is 10-1.
Well, what's criticize? That's a bad call? I'm not sure about that one.
I think that counts to me.
I'm not sure about that. I wouldn't have made that call.
I would say what Aikman did in the Chiefs-Texans game,
right.
100% would qualify.
That's hard. That's too much gray area.
Yeah, if he completely disagrees with one of the calls, let's say there's a roughing the passer on the field, and it's total nonsense. Could Brady say that call stinks?
Well, that counts, yeah. But
that'd be a winner.
I don't know. I don't like the call. I don't like the call. Does that count? Okay.
Will the broadcast team recount any Mardi Gras stories? Yes is plus 550. The no is minus 1,000. What's the limit on something like this? I'd like to heavily bet the no on that. What do you think they're going to have fun? Boy, can you believe this? A Mardi Gras a couple of years ago, I was naked. I had about 19 hurricanes down here. I blacked out for about 8 hours. What? They're not going to do any of that.
Oh. I can't see it.
Okay.
You're Tom Brady. You're not doing that.
No.
You're not going to Mardi Gras. You're with supermodels and in the hotel.
Will Kevin Burkhardt or Tom Brady mention the odds? Yes, 2-1.
They got to mention the spread. They have to.
I don't think that's far-fetched, right?
Yeah. You have to. It's a Super Bowl.
In 2025, it almost seems like they're not doing their job if it's not brought up.
You have to even mention Barkley's prop. That's another one. Especially if he has a big game. I think you have to mention something like that as well.
Now, would this qualify? The Chiefs are favored in this game, or the Eagles are an underdog in this game?
That counts. That's got to count.
That's pretty much the same thing?
Yeah.
Will they show Tom Brady Super Bowl highlights during the broadcast? Yes, minus $2.
They have to. They have to.
I would think yes.
Plus, they have to show him throwing for the record against the Eagles. Don't they?
Well, that's another one. Will they show Tom Brady playing the Eagles in the Super Bowl? Yes is minus 150.
You cash both tickets.
I think so, right?
Guy had 500 yards and lost the game. Punt.
It's his first ever Super Bowl in the booth.
Yeah.
I think you're kind of doing a disservice here to the audience and to him, by the way, if you don't show some highlights.
And the whole story here is the three-peat. I bet over 4.5 times they're going to mention that. Number one, because it's never been done. Brady couldn't do it. They were close. And then the fact that this is what everyone... I mean, you got to open a broadcast with that.
Sure.
Chiefs going for the three-peat.
How about how many times the over-under is 1.5? Again, if that's bookable in other states, whatever. I'd like to get down on something like that. I think they will absolutely go over 1.5 there. Which will be said first in relation to Jalen Hurts, Oklahoma Sooners or Alabama Crimson Tide? Oklahoma's minus $4, Bama plus 250.
Why is Oklahoma $4?
Because that's where he was last. I take the plus money with Bama.
Yeah.
The fact that he, again, was benched at the halftime of the national title game.
Uh-huh.
There's an angle there.
Overcoming adversity,
yes.
like Sirianni says, everyone rips this guy. All he does is win. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
How many times will birthday be said? It's Saquon's birthday on Super Bowl Sunday, over under 1.5.
I don't know about that one. Yeah, but that's why it has to get a mention.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be at least once.
It has to be mentioned.
Yeah. Which is going to be said first, the tush push or the brotherly shove? Tush push is minus 1,000. Brotherly shove is plus 550. I prefer tush push, but I think some people prefer brotherly shove. I think you probably have to go back and listen to like any games that these guys broadcast throughout the entire year with the Eagles. How many times are they going to show Jason Kelsey? It's 2.5.
Why would they show him 3 times?
Well, they like to get the family shots in. We know that.
Is he in the booth then with Taylor Swift? The suite, I mean? If he's in the suite with Taylor Swift, then
it's going to be for sure. Is he there with his mom? Because there's also a prop like how many times are they going to show? I think the mom's name is Donna.
I got to go over the brother. I was on the Eagles. Taylor Swift. Yeah.
If they're all there in the same suite, then they're going to keep showing it over and over and over again. This is really good. Will A.J. Brown's book title, Inner Excellence, be said? Yes, plus 550.
Yeah, they have to mention it. They're not going to mention it, that he was reading the book and say the title?
Well, the title has to be said.
Yes, I know. You can't just say the book.
Right, I know.
I think they'll get a pop and the guy will get another plug.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
And then there's this. Will A.J. Brown be shown live reading a book? Plus 550 on the yes. Does that, right? Like if he has a good sense of humor here, he would do that again. And then you can also bet on which one he's going to be reading on the sideline.
The Bible 9-1.
Yes, they got any Shakespeare at 9-1. Love Hurts 7-1. Of Mice and Men 10-1.
You're in the rye.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Did you ever watch the movie of Mice and Men?
I don't. I think so, but it's been a while.
Excellent.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. 50 Shades of Grey 20-1. Okay. Moby Dick 20-1.
War and Peace.
Yeah. They have like 100 books on here that you can bet on.
Okay. This is completely mispriced and it's missing something in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Which food will be mentioned first in relation to Andy Reid? Burger, cheeseburger, minus $2. It's well documented. He loves it. He always talks about cheeseburgers.
Sure.
But what's missing, the story goes, he interviewed for the job in Philly, and they went out to dinner, and I think he ordered 2 steaks. How do you not tell that story? Because that's about, hey, I was with Philadelphia. We had a great run. Couldn't win the big one. But when he interviewed for the job, I think he ordered 2 or 3 steaks at dinner.
I don't even see steaks on the menu.
How do you not? Yeah, you got to tell that story. That's
right?
Awesome.
No, that's really, really good. Although I do think like barbecue at 6-1 is also probably a decent bet based in Kansas City. So with the correlation there, the tie-in.
Would he eat jambalaya and tell people? Or
well, in New Orleans?
Cheesecake?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, as long as they're there.
All right.
And then will the power go out in the Superdome again? Yes, it's 50-1. If the power goes out again, I got to say, and I love the city of New Orleans, it probably should not have another Super Bowl there.
I would agree. That changed the whole game.
It did.
It was a blowout at that point. What do you remember about that?
About the game overall?
No. When that happened.
Oh, I know where you're going to go with this.
Well, I'm going to go two ways. Mm-hmm. Number one is, refund? Are they going to finish the game? How long is the delay?
That's not what I was thinking, but yeah, okay.
Number two it was on CBS, and oh boy, they had 6-7 people there, and they couldn't fill, and it was, they panicked. You had people, they couldn't talk about the game.
They had no idea what to say.
They couldn't fill. Forget about 10. They couldn't fill. They had to fill for more than half an hour. They had nothing.
No, they gave the
it's like
audience.
Jack Collinsworth at like 2 minutes in. I got nothing.
Yep.
They had to do that because there was a weather delay in a Sunday night game this year. And it's like they have 6-7 guys there on the crew with the announcing crew, and these guys had nothing.
I mean,
they panicked.
You're put to the test, right? And they completely failed with flying colors. And if you're going to go to that extreme level of having that many people on a broadcast crew the entire time and you can't get by 30 minutes talking about the Super Bowl, what are we doing here? Get them all off.
Right. And
fire everybody.
Right. I mean, Cowher was an embarrassment, not surprised, and I think it was Gonzalez too. But the one time, that's the actual benefit of having the ex-jock on there.
Sure.
About what are you going through now? Now what do you do in the locker room? What if it's an hour delay?
There was no direction.
Nothing?
You're exactly right. They panicked, and it's like they had never been through broadcasting classes ever in their entire life, which most of them probably have not, because they go right to the booth after they're done playing or coaching.
I just think, can you imagine if this is a 2-hour delay, if they can't get this back and fixed? Oh, my God. What happens?
Fade to black.
Incredible. Ready to try something different? Sign up, start playing the ponies on First Bet. First Bet U.S.-based, offers wagering on hundreds of races every day across the country and around the world. FirstBet.com, promo code VSIN200. Claim a 20% rebate for your first 60 days, up to $200. Head to FirstBet.com today.
You make any more bets for the Super Bowl over the weekend?
I don't think I added, not since Friday. No, that was it. Longest touchdowns drive under 80.5. I think that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I did bet the Mavs. I did take 40-1. I think they're going to make another trade.
40-1. I also, you can find, I think the highest number that you can find right now on them to win the West is like 19-1. Might be worth it. Some other books are on like 12-1. I would not take that number. But this year alone, for that deal, they're pretty damn good. Now, you're going to have to really trust Kyrie here when it matters most, a lot in all these games. But, and by the way, doesn't Davis come there just completely pissed off?
That's right. Did you see he waived his kicker? He was due $6 million if he was ever traded. He waived it.
Yeah. So that tells you that he never had a problem with it.
Yeah, right. He waived his fee.
Completely okay with it.
Yeah, his bonus. Incredible.
So we will discuss tonight's NBA card up next. We'll give you a list of players who are on hot runs with their props. We're talking a bunch of players around 11-4 or 12-3 last 15 games. Those players and their numbers next here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Nice little surprise here. We'll get to the card coming up a little bit later on. Nick Bogdanovich stops by here on a Monday. Longtime Las Vegas odds maker. He is in the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame. He's here at Circa Sports. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great, gentlemen. You ready for the big week?
Well, you have a nice-looking green shirt on today. Is it an indication of who you like in the game?
That's funny. Obviously, being in the industry forever, I get asked, who do you like, who do you like, who do you like? But if you put a gun to my head, I would play the Eagles. The only problem is the other team, all they do is win. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, 4th and inches, and Josh Allen, all he needs to get is a half a yard, and he gets it 990 times out of 1,000. They stop him. I mean, they're down 3, getting a kickoff with 13 seconds left against the Bills. No problem. They just win. They just find ways to win. But I do think the Eagles will win this game. So, what about you?
I'm there.
Yeah?
I'm there with Philly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as Jalen Hurts plays a good game, that means make key plays with his legs at the right time, and he hits Devontae and AJ with some passes that stretch the field a little, and obviously I think him and Goddard are on sync. I think as long as Hurts plays good, I don't think he has to play super great. As long as he plays good, I think Philly will get the job done.
In all your years doing this since the mid-'80s, do you recall a prop this high with a running back in an NFL game in the last couple weeks?
Well, I mean, he's had as good as year as any running back as I've ever seen. How many 60-yard runs?
Yep.
I mean, how many touchdowns? I mean, and you got to key him. And listen, Reed's a genius. With 2 weeks to prepare, he's 187-1 or some stupid thing. I mean, he's really good coming off the bye and with the extra week to prepare. And they got a really, really good defense. But I mean, the balance that Philly has presents a lot of problems. So I hope Saquon has a big game for Philly's sake and to finish it off. And I think he will. I think he'll get his yards.
Yeah.
Do you see it as a high-scoring game like most people?
You know, it's funny. It appears both teams got really good defenses, so you wouldn't think it would be a high-scoring game. And if you look at the history of betting, anytime there's a really big game, the professionals always look to bet those games under. So, but you just never know how a game breaks out. You know, you get a scoop and score or a long bust-out touchdown, and the game sort of picks up momentum. Gun to my head, I'd have to play under, but I don't play totals very often.
Yeah. Do you think the Eagles can go off as the favorite here? Are you looking like you guys are getting more money on the Eagles from the pros, or is this just like it's the Super Bowl, so no matter what, you're going to have more public money than anything else?
Yeah, 100% more public money than anything else. I don't think the Eagles will go off the favorite. The first week of betting, I would say it was really slow. To me, it was really slow.
Really?
Yeah. We didn't take any big bets. I think 30,000 might have been the biggest bet we took.
Can I hop in here for a second? Is that because the games are run to pick 'em?
Could be. Having no money line, I think, really hurts.
Yep.
It hurts handle and opportunity in a Super Bowl. I love it when the game's right around 6.5, 7, because then you get that really, really cheap money line if you want to play the favorite, or the money line's juicy enough to where the public still wants to take 220, 230, 240 when they should be taking higher. So it really stinks that the game's right at pick'em. But on the flip side, you should write this amazing two-way action. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Good answer. Good points. Well, give us an update on the what's moved the most with the props and some of the big bets and activity that's been here at Circa.
Saquon Barkley, I would say, is going to be the star of this show for this Super Bowl. I think prop-wise, I think his props are really drawing action. Saquon to score a touchdown, we opened like $1.80. Took some pretty good money on the yes, so it's up to -$2. So that's rare. That's pretty much rarefied air for yes scoring a touchdown. I remember McCaffrey on his long touchdown run was getting in those, and obviously Saquon this year. But yes, -$2 for a touchdown is pretty strong.
Also, I'm sure like a lot of bets early on him to win the MVP because that moved. You guys had 3-1 right away, but that didn't last very long.
100%. We opened Barkley 3-1 to win the MVP and took some pretty good money on that. So we're down to, I think, -310 plus 260. But yeah, Barkley, anything Barkley is drawing over in yards, yes on MVP, yes on touchdown. So I'd like to see all the Saquon people smiling at the end of the week.
Mm-hmm. What else you got?
Kickoff, the first kickoff will be a touchback.
Right.
They're taking the plus price, which you see in the Super Bowl. Anytime there's a big plus price, they're going to take it, whether it's yes safety, yes overtime, yes. So, but good luck getting someone to return a kickoff these days. I mean, it takes an act of Congress for that to happen. So, I mean, they took plus $3 on the no and plus 260 on the no. I think we're currently minus 270 that it will be a touchback, and that's the only way I'd go. I mean, they just don't return them now.
Okay, so you said that's all those plus money on like the overtime and the safety. You're going to draw the yes from the public as well.
100%.
But this year, are you getting it balanced though, both sides? Because the pros love betting the nose on those two.
They do, and I always liked opening those. I didn't want to take the play out of it. I knew that they would always bet yes. And I could stomach the liability because I knew if I ever wanted to shorten that liability, I could just lower the price a little. And the professionals will always bet no safety, no overtime. So, when you know what they're going to bet, you have a tendency to chop the price a little. But I didn't want to ever take the play out of it just because I wanted to write the business. I knew if I really wanted to shorten it at the end, I could drop it lower and the professionals would bet the no.
Yeah. Okay. Goddard, has he been pretty popular here too?
Not yet.
No, okay.
But I think you will see some Goddard action. I think he'll be big in player to score first touchdown. They love betting that tight end to score that first touchdown. So, and Goddard's been on fire lately, and him and Hurts got that connection. So, haven't seen a lot of Goddard action yet, but I think we will.
And have you seen Kelsey action yet?
No, and that's coming off that big game in the. Against Houston? Yeah, he had 117. So, and he is Mr. Playoff. So, like I said, it's been fairly quiet so far. So we haven't seen any Kelsey or Goddard major money yet.
Did they do anything? You got octopus? You take any octopus?
No octopus.
No,
but we got a guy. Well, anyone over 300 pounds score a touchdown.
Yeah,
they call it the
fat guy
fat guy prop. So
you got that. We did reference that. That was.
I wonder if Ozempic can get involved in that one.
Well, you have fourth down conversions. The activity there. Total?
Yeah, there's action there. Total fourth down conversions. They bet over 1.5 minus 70, and we're up to over 1.5 minus $2, which I don't blame them. Let's face it, we're in the day and age of people go for fourth down a lot more than they ever have. I remember when Bill Belichick started that, he was crazy aggressive on fourth down, but now it's, after doing the studies and all these coaches from Campbell on down, they're going for it almost in any situation. So I think that's probably a pretty good bet over 1.5 fourth down conversion.
Okay, Hopkins stuff and Hunt stuff. Hunt touchdown popular. What are they doing with Hopkins also? Take it away.
What happened to D-Hop?
I don't know.
12.5 yards.
Yeah.
That's what struck me. I was going through these props. I said, DeAndre Hopkins, one of the better receivers of the last 5 or 6 years, his total in a Super Bowl is 12.5 yards. I mean, that's one slant.
Yeah, right.
But yet they bet under. They bet under 13.5 down to 12.5. And some guy who's popular on the internet gave out under on that. So if you think about this on D-Hop, over 50 yards, you can take 825. 100 will win you 825. If he gets a measly 50 yards. You know how many times he's gotten 50 yards in his career? But he's got his last 2 playoff games, he's got, I think, one reception and 0 reception. So it's not trending well for him. But you never know how a Super Bowl breaks down. I mean, what happens if Hollywood comes up gimpy in the first quarter and he sees a lot more action? Or maybe Philly's up a couple scores and they got him on the field and in mop-up time, you get some cheap ones. So it's, a lot of these props are always determined on how a game plays out.
Yeah.
And Hunt touchdown? Is that what it is?
Yeah, they're betting Hunt to score a touchdown pretty good. They took plus 50, plus 35, and plus 30.
Is that right?
So they think Kareem's getting in the end zone. So we got that one no minus 45 right now.
Quickly here, about 45 seconds left. You like anything tonight in college basketball?
Big game, Kansas, Iowa State.
Revenge here for the Jayhawks, but
Revenge. Iowa State beat the hell out of them in Ames. I think Kansas will give them a little payback. So I could see laying 2 with the Jayhawks.
At first blush, this game confused the daylights out of me based on what happened on Saturday. Iowa State somehow got blown out at home to K-State. Where'd that come from? And then Kansas got outscored by, they had a 19-point halftime lead. They were outscored 60-30 in the second half.
They got up 21, and Baylor had a kid or 2 injured during the game, so they were playing real shorthanded, and they boat raced them in the second half.
Thanks for the donuts. Class act.
Anytime.
Oh, yeah. You want Chick-fil-A? Raising Cane's payback? Come on. Yeah?
I'm going to Raising Cane's tonight for dinner. I'm excited.
Thanks, Nick. Brian Mahoney on the program coming up next covers the NBA for the Associated Press. What was his reaction to the trade? Like other fellow media members over the weekend.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
The most shocking trade in the history of the NBA took place Saturday night. And one of the most shocking trades, if not the most shocking trade in the history of sports, I think. I mean, it's right up there. Nobody saw it coming. I still can't believe it, and it's been coming up on 48 hours here. And kicking around now is Brian Mahoney, who has covered the NBA for a long time for the Associated Press, and he is on the Progressive Guest Line. Brian, thanks for the time today. What was your reaction like when you saw the news? What has it been like as you're talking to other media members who've covered the league for a long time? Can anybody believe this?
No one can believe it. Everyone is surprised. It's just not a guy. You don't see a guy like Luka Doncic get traded unless he said, "I'm absolutely leaving. Trade me." And I was here Saturday night in Madison Square Garden with the Lakers writers when this trade broke. They were all surprised. I've had people text me, people in the NBA and just casual sports fans explain this to me, and I really can't. I never would have predicted something like this coming, and I still can't believe it did.
Did you think Shams was either hacked or it was an imposter and a fake account?
I thought it was fake. I had just finished writing. I put my glasses back on to read the tweet a second time because sometimes you can see, like I said, they'll misspell Luka, or you can tell right away it's fake once you really read it closely. And I'm looking at it with my glasses on saying, no, this is all legit. But I just think it's true. And Shams had to send a second tweet saying this is actual real because no one believed it was.
I'm with you. Saturday, I think I read the tweet like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, what? How is this? How did this ever come to fruition? I mean, it took me like 2 hours to actually wrap my head around it, Brian.
the same. You kept trying to think, okay, wait a minute. And, people are speculating like crazy what could have really happened here. It's because obviously we're reading all the reports and you're talking about his weight and things about that. And you can say, okay, yes, I understand that, but it's got to be something more. That people just can't believe, no matter what they're saying publicly, that you have a guy who gives you, 30, 10, and 10 a lot of nights, and you're saying, nope, we don't want him anymore. We're going to take the first deal we get for him. And it just is hard to imagine this could ever happen. Again, you see superstar players get traded, but you can always say, okay, they were going to leave anyway or something like that. We just don't see that with this trade.
Yeah, and I'm glad you went in that direction, too, because I have to call BS on we don't know if he was going to sign here. He was signing for $350 million and the Supermax. That's number one. How many people, and maybe you think this too, how many people have reached out to you saying, can you believe this? How does this keep happening to the Lakers? Gasol, Kobe, Wilt, Kareem, Worthy, Magic, Shaq, LeBron, Luka. What's going on?
It's funny. No one's mentioned that in the last couple of days, Paul, but it's a great point. I remember asking Kobe years ago for a story. There was a chance he was going to leave in, I think, 2004.
Right.
He talked to the Clippers. I said, what do you think would have happened? And he said, the Lakers would have got someone. They always get someone.
Yeah.
And you look at it, like you said, that's exactly what happens. Somehow the Lakers always make a deal. It's always a great deal for them, and they get the next guy before they've lost the current guy. And that's what it seems like happens now with Luka eventually being there before LeBron's gone.
Right. It could have been any team in the league. Nope. It was the Los Angeles Lakers. That's the part that, to me, again, to your point here, that just makes me think that, and tying in that Harrison never bothered to talk to another team. Like, Brian, how does that make any sense?
Well, it doesn't unless you say, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to do this for, I don't know, Jokic or Giannis, someone who you could maybe say is the same in category as Luka, and you can say, but Anthony Davis is a great player, but he's obviously much older than Luka, injury prone in his own right. It doesn't seem like the kind of trade you would make even as good as Anthony Davis is. So the fact that was the deal he said, I'm going to do, only deal I'm considering. Yeah, you say, okay, why? There's got to be something more he could have done, more picks back, more anything.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, I can't explain it myself other than to say, same shock as everyone.
What do you make of this Laker team right now as is? And at some sports books, they're as low as 10-1 to win the title, if you can believe that. Are you hearing about another big trade or more pieces coming LA's way?
A lot of people think now, obviously, they'll try and get some kind of center, and they don't need a great one. Now if you look at, putting Luka and LeBron out there, two guys who get you 7-8 rebounds a game, maybe more, you don't need a dominant big man, a guy who was as good as Anthony Davis was. And, people, I think, don't realize how good this Laker team is already. They have a good record. And, if Luka's healthy and they figure it out, they have 2 months, the West is not unwinnable for anybody. They could certainly make a run. So I certainly give them a chance. Again, we have to see if Luka's healthy, but no reason to think they can't do it.
Well, then on the flip side, short term here, this year specifically, what do you make of the Mavericks and the construction of that roster now?
Same thing. I think it's interesting. I don't think their long-term looks as great, but short-term, I can see, sure, Anthony Davis has played great this year. Now, again, he's also injured right now. Let's see how long he's out for. But, Kyrie's been terrific. This should be a great, pick-and-roll kind of group that works here. They now have 3 good active centers in the middle. When you look at Lively and Gafford, when those guys are all healthy. So they're intriguing as well. And the one thing I've heard from multiple people around the league is, as good as Oklahoma City is, a lot of people look at them as a regular season kind of team, and you can get physical with them in the playoffs. And Dallas has kind of put together a roster now that maybe, like they did last year, can do it again.
Were you surprised what LeBron was able to do Saturday? Or was it like, of course he was going to do that? How many more trips does he have to the Mecca, and then he goes off, they get the win without Davis, and LeBron has the triple-double?
A little bit of both. I say I should expect him to be slowing down at his age, but I've seen it so many times, and knowing how much he loves playing at the Garden, once it was clear he was having that kind of night, I kind of figured he was going to keep on going. He's still, when he needs to be, he's still a top 5 guy in this league, and he certainly was that night at, 33, whatever, 12 and 11 it was.
Yep.
Fantastic game.
What do you think of Fox to San Antonio?
A great move for San Antonio. Obviously, now when you have him in the future with Wembanyama, I think, we may start to see moves like this where teams are, not sure, not even just for this summer if a guy's going to leave, but a couple summers out, is he going to be here long term and moving quickly? And, this was he had a great year 2 years ago. That was a nice, fun Sacramento team, and they're going to be totally different now. No one thought he was going to be available, but here it is, and great move by San Antonio to go get him.
Yeah. All right. So so you cover the Knicks. Mitch just bet the Knicks like 2 weeks ago to win the division. You see the Celtics issues. Everyone's saying they're bored, but they're taking 53s a game, and they're losing some bad teams. What do you think? Is this the second best team in the East? They're unstoppable offensively. What's the excitement like there? And if you believe in this Knicks team to make a deep postseason run?
Paul, I think they need one more guy. I think they have a fantastic starting five, if they're healthy. But we saw last year when, all their guys got hurt at the wrong time. No one ever stays healthy. So I think the Knicks need a little bit more to their bench. And if so, yeah, I think they can beat Boston. I'm not sure I'd necessarily pick that, but their starting five is fantastic. They scored terrifically. They have great wing defenders. They have a lot of what you'd like. I'm just not sure they have enough of it. Now, Mitchell Robinson, their center, is close to coming back. Maybe that's the move right there. But I do think they are close, but not quite there yet.
So what will your pecking order look like at the top of the East, the top three teams? Put them in order.
I still would lean Boston slightly, and then I would say the Knicks, and then I think Cleveland deserves to be picked. The thing with Cleveland we haven't seen yet the last couple of years in the playoffs. You could again get physical with them. I think there's some skepticism, but I think they're legit. I like the Knicks a little bit better as a number 2 team, but I certainly give them a chance to be top 3 and expect they would be.
Yeah, Pauly mentioned this 2 seconds ago about the Celtics, but and I know their power rating is obviously to the moon. But that's, I think this year the variance with that team, Brian, is higher than any previous year just because of that team taking 50-plus threes per game. And when they're not hitting, then they get down in a hole by 26 points and they come roaring back for a win. But I think that team is going to be pushed a lot more than they were last year.
I think it's a great point, Mitch. I think their good nights are great and their bad nights are beatable nights. I thought last year they could win. Otherwise, they could. I don't feel like they're as locked in, maybe because they won last year. But, if they were off last year, you had, Derek White and Drew Holiday shutting teams down. I don't think that necessarily is working as much. And there are some explosive teams. I should mention Indiana, too. They're on a heck of a nice roll in January. And, they could certainly make a nice run in the playoffs. They score a lot. So, yeah, I think Boston still look there when they're, ideally when they're at their best, they're still better than everyone else in the East, but it's certainly not by as much as last year.
Yeah. You can follow Brian on X. He is at Brian C. Mahoney. He has covered the NBA for the AP for many, many years. Thanks, Brian. We appreciate it.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go. He was on the Progressive Guest line. Not a single person can believe it. How could you?
You go in there, you cover the game, the Lakers win, they're big dogs. LeBron has a triple-double, and then the news drops after the game, and LeBron's out with his family having dinner when he gets the news. And you got to be like, what? And you're sitting there with the Lakers who are in town, and they make the biggest trade in NBA history in terms of shock, surprise, whatever. You said earlier, biggest in the sports you can recall.
I mean,
it's
in terms of shock value, yeah. We
got a couple of good emails and tweets. A guy saying young people don't know anything about squares, and they're like, and you have to explain it to them. That's wild with the younger generation. No big game complete without a classic game of squares. Circa Square Bets. We all know the pain of pulling those terrible numbers. You get to choose your square and the numbers you want. Each square has its own odds. Download the Circa Sports Nevada app today. Place your Circa Squares bet. Turn your big game to a big win with Circa Sports.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN. Great moments in history have begun with a question.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
And what kind of hair product does Mitch Moss use? But Follow the Money wants to know.
Do you concur? Concur with what, sir? Do you concur?
All right, Pauly, the closer we get to the Super Bowl, the more I like Philadelphia. Do you concur?
I can see you saying that in other people, but me, no, because on the back of my mind, it's they win every close game and it's Mahomes. So if it wasn't Kansas City, with what they've done this year, and going back, they've won 17 one-score games in a row, and the three-peat, and every break goes their way, the officiating, in 12 straight games, their opponents have been called for more penalties. I concur with what you say, but I can't get there.
There's a little bit what Nick was saying, too, like every big moment, right?
That's right.
4th and short. Josh Allen gets that every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Weird things down, when they need something to go their way, it's going to go their way. How many breaks did they have throughout the entire season? They were completely lucky.
Right. And 2 years ago, the Eagles should have won the game, too.
Yeah.
There was another one.
Yeah.
I know.
They're a better football team almost everywhere.
I know. Yep.
All right. Very few events can overshadow the Super Bowl, but the Mavs-Lakers trade has done just that. Do you concur?
Absolutely. You're right. Saturday night was amazing, incredible. Had to get on social media. Also, who's got a podcast, put on VSiN, whatever. What are you talking about? How the odds have moved? What's their thoughts on this most shocking trade in history? Continued Sunday, Monday. It'll keep going. And we're not done. With the deadline being Thursday,
right?
Lakers are going to make a trade. They have to. They have no rim protection. Dallas, I think, makes a trade. Butler could be dealt. The next day Fox was traded. I mean, this is, but just to see, like, there was what you said, that people I've never talked NBA with reached out, and we're having an NBA conversation. I saw the one guy, I haven't talked to my dad in 8 years. He's saying, what's going on with the trade?
That was good. That happened to me. Again, I woke up to very early Sunday morning, had 23 texts. That's very abnormal. They were all about the trade. Specifically, one person, I honestly don't think I've ever talked to NBA in my life with them. Ever. So, I mean, and part of the reason why here again, Luka never asked for a trade. There was never a hint of something like this going down. And everybody was just completely stunned by it.
Yeah.
They kept their lips sealed.
Yep.
And, they're going to chew with their mouth closed and laugh at their stupid jokes.
Yeah, I know. That's right. Yes. Brian nailed it. I mean, you don't do this. This is unheard of. And even what Jeff Sherman said from the Westgate earlier. He's 25, in the prime of his career. He entered the season as the favorite to win the MVP, and you just went to the finals, and you want to short him.
Right.
Nah, I can't pay him. I can't get there.
Yeah, and as I asked Jeff, right, let's say I had inside information Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, this was good.
And I presented this to you, Pauly. I said, hey, I'll give you 100-to-1 odds right now that this trade's going to happen. You would just be like, get the hell out of here. Stop talking gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
You would not even, 100-to-1, you never would have even considered taking the bet.
When you see the breaking news and the tweet, you then say, okay, Luka for AD. What else is in the trade?
Of course.
And you're still looking down for where are all the players, picks, swaps? None of it.
No.
There's one first-round pick. They sent Kleba back in return, who can't guard a cone, but the guy, I know he's hurt, but he can also shoot. But it's like you're looking. It's like, where are the other players' pick swaps? Oh, it's incredible. What a...
I don't even know what to compare it to. I brought this up earlier. Adam Schefter today was asked on a Denver radio station, like, what the biggest piece of breaking news that really just threw him for a loop, and he said that it was Andrew Luck retiring. Yeah,
well, okay. There's two things to that. There's how do you compare it to shocking news, but it's also how is it? There are people saying it's the worst trade in history.
Yeah, right.
We'll get the one coming up, but this is like you don't do this. And it's one thing to trade the guy, but as we've talked about all show, what the Nets got for 34-year-old, what Gobert went for, what Bridges went for, what the guy's the second best player in the league. What are you doing?
And no other player in his position. Anthony Davis asked for a trade, so technically he never got the Supermax from New Orleans.
Right.
But that's it. Every single time in history, the player has signed the Supermax.
Right. That's why that's absolute nonsense, what they're floating about. I don't know if we could keep him. I don't know. He was signing for $350.
That's right.
Come on now.
With no state taxes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, he's going to say no to that. Sure. Maybe down the road, you said this during the break, maybe down the road he asked for a trade. That's completely different.
Yeah, you get your money first. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We'll walk away from that.
Okay, you hinted at this earlier. It's not funny, haha, but it's funny that the Lakers always get the next superstar. Do you concur?
Yeah, so absolutely 100%. So we went down the conspiracy theory earlier about the Adelsons maybe pulling a major league movie with the plot here. But the other one is, ratings are down. Prop up the Lakers. Of course, the 25-year-old superstar lands in L.A. because LeBron only has a couple years left. But yeah, I ran it down early. So West, Chamberlain, Worthy, Shaq signed there, left Orlando. LeBron all of us, okay, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to Los Angeles. The Luka news. Magic, you draft number 1. You drafted Worthy. You got that pick too. But I think it was also the timing. It was 17 years of the anniversary of the Gasol trade, which was everyone around the league was, wait a second, this guy was available? How does Memphis not make a phone call? That's asinine. How it played out with Kobe. I want to be traded. I'm not going to play, but I only want to play with the Lakers, right? And then Jerry West says, shut it down when he sees them work out. But that's right. They always, what Kobe said to Mahoney's right, they always get someone. They always land a superstar.
Always. I got to be honest, I think it kind of stinks.
You really?
Yeah.
You're there.
The fact that the guy never called another organization.
Yes.
That just reeks to me. But Nick, on the way out the door, Nick Bogdanovich said, yeah, this one stinks. It does stink.
I don't think it stinks, like in terms of help out the league, Adam Silver. I think it stinks what we said earlier. The real life Major League
I'm in.
going on here.
I'm buying that.
Because that's just crazy, right?
Yeah.
You've pissed off the fan. Who would want to buy season tickets?
They in a matter of hours, they lost. Again, what does this mean? I don't know. But they lost more than 700,000 followers on Instagram. The people want to riot in Dallas.
They love them.
Also, people thought that Luka had a chance to go down as, we're talking like top 3 player of all time, top 5 player of all time. He was on that kind of pace.
Either the Lions or Bills would be the best landing spot for Myles Garrett. Do you concur?
Well, both those teams need to pick up the phone. Here you go, right?
Yeah, right.
And just even if Cleveland has said it, they might be screaming it from the mountaintops. We're not going to trade the guy. Don't care. You got to call.
Yep.
The Lions have to have somehow, like, just in case. Look what they went through this year with the injuries. Buffalo, same thing. They need a little bit of help there to get over the top. Washington would be a good spot too, I think.
Okay.
To get out. But the Lions, Bills, absolutely.
Sorry. Let me go back to your earlier point and tie it in what just happened. You always take the phone call or go to the meeting. Look what just happened. Harrison tells Pelinka, you want to go across the street from the arena and have coffee. He has coffee with him, and he brings it up to Pelinka. What were the odds? Like, who's the most beautiful woman in the world? You know, Lindsay Pellis, what's her name? Pelas. She's incredible, right? It's like she walks, hey, Mitch, you want to get coffee? I've been following your work for a while. I'd like to maybe date you and see where this... I mean, who would think that's going to happen, right? I want to trade a generational talent, 25-year-old superstar, and I only want to talk with you. Keep it quiet.
And then on top of it, Pelinka was the one who ended up playing hardball, as you said earlier, according to like some sources out there.
There are sources that connect, and the other first-round pick was in the deal. And Pelinka played hardball and kind of said, I'm not sure, and it worked.
It's incredible. LeBron, should ask to get traded. Golden State, just because it's a soap opera. Or how about this, back home one more time to Cleveland? Do you concur?
No. That would be wild, but it's, the Laker for life. Just signed the extension. Drafted my son as a favor. He always wanted to play with Luka.
Well, okay, but if we had another bombshell before the deadline on Thursday, and that bombshell was LeBron is going back to Cleveland to finish the career, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Okay. Abdul Carter is not the generational talent the Titans are talking about.
How can he be? I love the guy. He's very good.
No.
I do not concur.
Who do you think?
I'm reading all these mock drafts.
That's got to be Travis Hunter.
It has to be.
Come on.
Of all the defensive linemen we've had who have come out, and we have like great defensive linemen every single year, this guy's a generational talent, not Travis Hunter with what he does.
Yeah.
I can't buy it.
Yeah.
People are mocking Carter, and his odds have plummeted to be the first pick overall in the draft. They're mocking him left and right to go to Tennessee. Yeah, he's the generational talent. I'm not buying it.
I'm with you.
It can only be Hunter.
Aren't we going to see a pissed off, I am going to show you Luka now?
I think both guys, right? LeBron asked for Anthony Davis. Now traded on the way out, and now Luka has everything. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Luka should go scorched earth when he comes back.
I don't know if this is true, but he just bought a mansion. And then he got the news, and his dad ripped him. His dad came right out and said, what do you this organization's a joke.
Well, up next, we will tell you what you called this earlier. Probably the best NBA bettor of all time had to say. Very strong opinion on the trade. That's next.
Are you ready to unlock your creativity and transform your passion for beauty into a career? Southeastern College is here to help you take your first steps towards training for a career in cosmetology. Unlock your potential and start your path towards a career making people feel confident. It's time to invest in yourself. Visit sec.edu for more information on our programs and take the first step toward training for a brand new career in cosmetology. Your before and after story starts now at Southeastern College.